Larry, it's been said to death. We're living in unprecedented times here. People are being removed from the internet, calls to be removed from office, fired from jobs. How can viewers survive this leftist inquisition? Can you hear me, Larry?
Revolution, forget the scandal industry.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I got you. Yes, there you are.
Okay. No, it takes a revolution. Forget the scandal industry. That's the title of my book. And it's very much true today. I predicted it. We've got to this point, and the fact that there was an event, and I'll call it an event at the Capitol because no one knows exactly in the dynamics of it yet. The fact that that happened, the people have reached such a frustration. And sure, there probably were a few Antifa people there, but most of these people were good people. They were there. They basically walked into the Capitol. I mean, just a few windows were broken. And it's clear that the law enforcement was actually probably siding for the most part.
I think we got to be very careful what we're saying, Larry. This video is going to get canceled because there were people killed there. It was a really serious event. And I've got a lot of video evidence that's suggestive that, yes, there were Trump supporters involved. That's no doubt. But most of them seem to be the most gullible QAnon supporters who are susceptible to the influence of these agents provocateurs from, I don't know where, I presume Antifa.
We disagree here. I'm not advocating violence. I never have. My book says peaceful and legal. What I'm saying is when people reach a point where they're backed up against a wall, where there's no way out, where their government does not represent them anymore, as it says in our Declaration of Independence, they have a right to alter or abolish that government and to form a new government. I do not believe, and I'm sorry, I disagree with you, that everybody there was QAnon or Antifa. There were a lot of genuine people there. And the fact that some people died, that's a tragedy. We all regret that. But when you push people up against the wall, what did Janis Joplin say in her song Bobby McGee, written by Chris Christopherson? Freedom ain't worth nothing, but it's free. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. People feel like there's nothing left to lose. This was a fraudulent election. There's no doubt about it. The president overplayed his hand in his rhetoric. But on the other hand, he never called for violence, and people died. And that's a tragedy, and we mourn that. But that doesn't mean that everybody there was there on an illegitimate basis.
Let me clarify my statements because I was there. I was there at the president's speech in D.C., at the Ellipse, on the Mall, walked to the Capitol. What I understood the president was saying is surround the Capitol to show everybody in there that this is how many people care about this, not to storm the building, break things, and attack people. That part, I think, was a huge mistake.
Well, the way the demeanor of the whole thing, and with Roger Stone standing next to him, it didn't do any good either. I'm sure Roger probably egged him on in a particular way. But here's the bottom line. Let's back up here, okay? Because this is just the beginning. This is not the end. And the FBI can do as many conferences as it wants. It had a press conference today where it basically threatened everybody, saying we're rounding everybody up. We're going to stick them in a gulag, and
Wow.
We're going to try them and fry them, okay? Now, the people who were innocent, who were there, did nothing, obviously have to be fearful of that. And the reason that people got to this point was exactly what I wrote about in my book. It takes a revolution, forget the scandal industry, which you can get at Amazon.com, or if you donate to Freedom Watch, go to freedomwatchusa.org. A certain amount, we'll send it to you. Is that when the legal system breaks down, when the legal system no longer provides a remedy, a recourse for the people, then the people obviously are going to rise up in a violent way. And that is what Jefferson predicted, because he pointed out in particular that the judges who are there to protect us, one of the three branches of government, unelected, unaccountable to the people, thinking they're there for life, they aren't really there for life, they're there for good behavior, giving themselves immunity, if you can believe that, from any of
Larry?
lawyers who are as corrupt as the judges. What happens? Exactly what Jefferson predicted would happen, a violent revolt. And he predicts it's going to be a lot worse than this. And this is why I'm trying to head it off with peaceful and legal means, as I suggest in my book, Citizens' Grand Juries, the Third Continental Congress. We need a seat We need to meet in Philadelphia next spring, experts, you're invited, others, and we need to come up, frankly, with a new government, because this government doesn't represent us. And right now it's terrorizing us. And now you've got these corporations, like the social media companies, big tech, you've got sports leagues, you've got credit companies cutting off credit. This reminds me of Nazi Germany. You see, Hitler could not have taken control if he did not have the backing of the industrialists in Germany, nor could he have waged a war. You have BMW that was making tanks, okay? You got Leica. I've got 2 Leica cameras who are making gun sights, okay? The industrialists are backing this up. It's a full court press. They'll go with anyone who they think's in power, and they're going to extinguish all of us. And frankly, our lives are in danger. They really are in danger, and the American people sense that. So yeah, there were some people there that shouldn't have been there that deserve to be locked up. But on the other hand, there were a lot of innocent people who just walked through the door. And the reason that they took that risk is because they have nothing to lose anymore. This country has gone to shit. It's gone to shit. Well, I'm sorry to use that language.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Now, let me ask you this from a legal standpoint, because I do agree with you. There are some people who not only just walked in, but we saw video footage of the Capitol Police moving the barricades, and there were definitely people in there just acting like tourists, taking pictures. I mean, if the police let you in somewhere, that's certainly suggestive that you have authorization to be there. What's going to happen to these people who were allowed in by the police?
Well, apparently they're being terrorized too. I watched this FBI press conference. It was frightening, okay, because the way the broad brush that they painted, were rounding everybody up. You know what? Where was the FBI when the radical left, Black Lives Matter, and everybody else was looting, burning, and killing last year? Okay, but now who's in charge? Joe Biden, perhaps the biggest criminal ever to be president of the United States, bribed to the hilt by China. By the way, if China had been involved, if they had actually, been there in Washington, D.C., say this was Beijing, 1991, Tiananmen Square, everybody would have been murdered that was there.
On the spot.
Now the people are afraid, and they don't want to rise up, and you're rightly afraid, too, of what can happen. You'll be removed from your sites, and there's no free speech left. And now it's a combination of things. It's a corrupt legal system. It's a corrupt government, all 3 branches, as I write in my book. It takes a revolution, forget the scandal industry. And it's industries, and it's sports leagues, and it's everything else are throwing in the towel, and we now are living in a dictatorship. That's where we are. And now they're going to impeach President Trump because he simply asked them to demonstrate at the Capitol. Well, you know what? Trump today shoved it back at him. I'd written an article, Republican Rats and Trump Flee the Sinking Ship of State, okay? Well, apparently Trump has had second thoughts. And frankly, he wants to be impeached at this point. He wants to be a martyr, and he will carry on. And frankly, his time has come and gone. It has come and gone. I'm sorry, it has. He had his chance. He could have declared martial law. He could have called for new elections. He could have done it another way, but he screwed around for so long that frankly, now he's up against the wall, and the American people are suffering by it. And, I supported the president. I still support what he stood for. Biden today says he's eliminating all Trump's immigration policies. Everything's going to be gone. He says he's raising taxes. Everything else. This country now is being controlled by socialists and communists. It's no longer even a dirty word to call somebody a communist.
They like it.
It's like calling somebody a racist. No one, pays any attention to it anymore. And many years ago, you couldn't call people gay. Okay, that was bad. You get sued for that. Now, you get an award if you're gay. So, these are the kinds of things that change in terms of time. There's nothing wrong with being gay, by the way, as long as you don't push it on anybody else. That's fine. But the country is being destroyed to the point that you can't say anything anymore. And it's ridiculous. There was a pro golfer, Justin Thomas, that got vilified by the PGA and NBC Golf Channel because he called himself a word that was called to be homophobic. He called himself the word. He didn't mean it in a sexual context. It was a slip of the tongue at the moment. There's no leeway anymore. Anybody that opposes this left, the socialists and the communists, will be destroyed. And frankly, there's more power today in this so-called government than there was in Russia in 1917. In in terms of being able to destroy people.
You're right, Larry. I mean, there's open calls on Twitter. It's really the most upsetting aspect is that our fellow Americans on the left are cheering the destruction of people's careers, the removal of their First Amendment rights. They don't even think any of us should be allowed to speak or exist in public. We have to be prosecuted because we voted for Trump.
Well, what do you think is going to happen, Jason? I predict it now. I don't want to see it happen. That's why I wrote the book. I want people to read it. You know, we can bring about justice ourselves. We'll do it the way the Justice Department would have done it if it was honest, but it's not honest. The FBI is not honest. They're the tool of the deep states of both political parties. The Republicans now want to see Trump impeached because they want him gone so he doesn't run again, so they can run their candidates next time. They're siding with the Democrats. This country has gone to hell. You know, I used another word just a few minutes ago, and it's an explosive state. And if the Democrats keep pushing like this, and if the Republicans continue to roll over, then there is going to be a violent revolution very, very soon. This was a warning shot across the bow. You don't squash it by telling people, you know, who were there honestly for a good reason that they're at risk. You don't squash it by removing their free speech rights. You don't squash it by having every aspect of society play a role, cutting off people's credit, you know, if they were supportive of Trump.
That's crazy.
You know, we're headed for a violent revolution, and I don't want to see it. But Jefferson was absolutely right. This country is unglued right now, and it's getting worse. These Democrats are so arrogant. They think they can do whatever they want. Joe Biden is the biggest arrogant person I've ever seen. And even exceeds Trump. He thinks he's got a full deck of cards and he can play, and no one's playing with him. And this is going to come back and haunt the Democrats, not just at the ballot box, but he's stoking a violent revolution. That's what he's doing, which I'm not advocating. I'm just saying that is the natural result of what they're doing.
Well, that's what's being reported in the Washington Post. And elsewhere. They're telling us that, you know, they're bringing in 15,000 National Guard for the inauguration. I mean, obviously that's a sensible response given the violence that was just happening the other day. But as you said, it's like China. I mean, the inauguration, even when I went to Trump's inauguration and there were fences up and cops everywhere, I mean, yeah, we need that. But it's like, why are we turning into this ultra militarized society where everything is violence?
Because people have been pushed up against the wall. They have no way out. And they see it. And they see the corruption. And there's no doubt, you know, it wasn't just that there was a fraudulent election. It wasn't just the fact that Pence, who has no guts, he has no cojones, could have sent the thing back to the states and asked them to figure out what went on. That was not overturning an election. And the dog and pony show by Cruz and Josh Hawley was just that. It was just to say, okay, we did it. So maybe Trump supporters, you'll support me when I run for president in 2024. That was complete crap, too.
Wasn't Ted Cruz's idea okay, though? I don't really like Ted Cruz, and I thought what he was saying seemed a decent idea.
Oh, it's a great idea, but you know nothing would ever happen. Okay, that's it. You know, it's like Lindsey Graham. Let's have hearings. Let's just talk. You know, let's not take any action. It's like Bill Barr. Let's just shoot our mouth off, blowhard Bill. Or John Durham up there in Connecticut. Nobody's been held accountable for anything. Nothing. And that's why I suggest in our book, we're going to commission citizens' grand juries. We're going to hold Biden accountable. We're going to hold Comey. We're going to hold McCabe. We're going to hold the Clintons and the Obamas. The American people now need to rise up and enforce their own laws. So I hope people will read that book because I can go through it in an intellectual way, in a scholarly way, explaining why we have those rights. And just go back to the Declaration of Independence and read the beginning. When in the course of human events, the sovereign no longer represents the people, I'm paraphrasing, the people, under the laws of nature and nature's God, have a right to alter and abolish their government and to form a new government by and for the people in pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. And then at the end, they pledge their honor, their fortunes, and risk their lives under the divine providence of God to create a new nation. We're worse off today than we were in 1776. King George III was not a socialist. He was not a communist. He was not an atheist. He was not a radical Muslim. He was not a Marxian leftist. My own tribe the Jewish tribe, and most Jewish people are not that way. He was not a radical LGBTQ. He was not a radical feminist. He was simply a king that was trying to exert his power. And the people said, no, we've had it. We don't want high taxes. We don't want our guns taken away from us. We don't want our legal system taken back to London, England, where we have no say in anything. And it exploded. And same thing's going to happen today unless something's done quickly.
You know, earlier today, Larry, former Deputy Director of the FBI, Andrew McCabe, called the event at the Capitol an orgy of violence. As you pointed out, I didn't hear them making these calls. You know, many more people were killed in the Black Lives Matter and Antifa riots throughout the country over the summer, the exploding gun violence. I mean, we saw just Sunday here in Manhattan, a young woman was attacked by a mob literally right in front of the NYPD, and they told her to step 6 feet away from them. How is this an orgy of violence?
Right now, the establishment feels threatened of both parties. And what did Jefferson say? When the people fear the government, there's tyranny. But when the government fears the people, there's liberty. They fear us. Every judge, every public official, every government functionary who walks down the street in Washington, D.C. today and other capitals has to watch their back. And that's unfortunate. And I hope nothing happens to them. And I pray that it won't. But that's the reality. So now they're trying to quash the rebellion, like you've seen in China. And rather than murdering everybody, they just simply send the FBI out to say, we're rounding everybody up in mass. Well, where were they with these radical leftists? They didn't feel threatened by the radical leftists.
They let them out.
Yeah, but they now feel threatened because they went in to the Capitol, because their lives are at stake, because their future is at stake, because their Washington, D.C. has been breached. And, you know, they'd be very wise to level with the American people and to clean out the rat's nest in Washington, a filthy cesspool of people who don't represent the American people, but are stuffing money into their pockets, acquiring power, their prestige, and everything else, coupled with the intelligence agencies that have dirt on everybody. So there's nothing that ever gets accomplished in Washington, D.C. And our country is unimaginable the way we see it today. It is the equivalent of Nazi Germany, and the industrialists are helping it out. They're now throwing their lot. A lot of them are leftists to begin with, but even the ones who aren't leftists, Wall Street, they're going to go with the winner. And that's why they're throwing Trump out with the trash right now, too, because they perceive him as a loser. So they're going to go with Biden, and because they think they're going to have protection as a result of that. Well, they're not. They've got something coming to them if they think that's going to happen.
We should let everybody know that you're in a low battery situation, so if the show gets cut short, that's the reason there. Larry, you have told us many times how...
left on my computer.
Okay, so your career in the DOJ, you were working on antitrust. What the hell can you say about this whole collusion here between Apple, Amazon, and Google to just completely shut down and put out of business in a day a competitor? Unprecedented. We've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I have an antitrust case right before the Supreme Court right now, a petition for writ of certiorari that I brought years ago dealing with this issue, and we hope the Supreme Court takes it up. But
I think we might have just lost Larry if he had...
Friday, filing a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're back.
Yeah, I'm filing a new one on Friday, and it deals with the whole Parler situation and as it affects consumers. Parler filed a complaint as it affects them. And now we're dealing with consumers because people like you and me can't communicate anymore. And that affects us. It damages us financially, emotionally, in every single way. So I'm bringing a lawsuit there. Again, you know, free truly is at the front. And I looked at the complaint that Parler filed. It wasn't a very good complaint. It was hastily prepared, a very poor complaint, not likely to succeed, unfortunately. I hope that their lawyers amend that complaint because it's not going to fly.
A lot of legal experts have been saying that. You know, something that I don't know if a lot of people are aware of this, Larry, because, you know, as accounts are being deleted from Twitter, leftist schmucks are, you know, celebrating the stifling of free speech. Someone who is a follower of the at CS The Truth Twitter account posted their own tweet saying, oh, so many of my favorite YouTubers have been deleted from Twitter, and I was on the list. And I said, wait a minute, I haven't been deleted from Twitter. And I found out from communicating with this person that they just stopped me from following them, even though I didn't do that. So they're just cutting down the network.
By the way, if I go dark right now, that doesn't mean that I've been killed by the left, but who knows? That may be happening soon anyway.
Hopefully not. But it's only 7 o'clock there.
Right. So,
but what about that? What about them terminating my contacts on Twitter involuntarily and boosting up other people?
It's outrageous, Jason. And look, I can't overstate where we are today. People don't even know it. The analogy I use is that we're sitting on the deck of the Titanic, listening to music as the ship has already hit rock bottom. And that's where we are. And all this wealth that we have, it's going to be divided up, given out, reparations to everybody. There'll be nothing left. And then these radical leftists will start fighting with each other. And I might add that most of these groups are good. They're good people, but it's these radicals inside these groups, and they're going to fight with each other. I mean, ask yourself, what do radical Muslims have in common with feminists or gays and lesbians? They hate them. Okay, so it's the bottom line. Under Islam, gays are to be either killed or relegated to high taxes. Okay, so it's going to come unglued even if they take full control. So we better get control back in a peaceful and legal way, quickly.
And in your last few minutes of battery, what do you see happening to Trump in the next 2 weeks, Larry?
I don't think he will be impeached or convicted in the Senate, although that may change. I think the Republicans want to see him gone. They want to see him dead and buried. They don't want him to be an impediment for them going forward. But I'll tell you something. My final words are, the Republican Party is over. It's dead. It's finished. It's lost all credibility. It's almost as bad as the Democrats. Now we have to move on.
Somebody was saying earlier that there is a Supreme Court case from 1969 or something, unfortunately having to do with statements made by somebody from the Ku Klux Klan, where the Supreme Court has already decided the types of things that Donald Trump said are not criminal.
Yeah, I heard that today too. I mean, we'll see. But look, the legal system, Jason, is not responsive. Don't expect anything out of the Supreme Court, or for that matter, any other lower court with regard to Donald Trump.
Right. And it's pretty much just whatever Nancy Pelosi and the rest of those bums.
Oh, yeah, they're
Congress.
going for the kill. They're going for the kill. Look, Bolsheviks know what to do.
Oh, all right. There goes the battery for Larry. But it is always good to get his input. I can tell he's fired up tonight. People are going to want to read the book. It Takes a Revolution. You can forget about the scandal industry. This is Larry's book. We're not encouraging a revolution. He's just saying he believes there will be one. And I mean, look, what we saw the other day was the closest thing I've ever seen to a revolution here. Very concerned about what's going to happen. People see what's going on in the streets. Larry's battery is dead, so we're going to call it a night here. Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to visit freedomwatchusa.org and help Larry and his team there at Freedom Watch. You can donate by clicking on the donate button. I believe the magic number is $50 if you want a gift copy of the book. And of course, you can read all of Larry's cases and follow his podcast, Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. I also want to remind people that they can support Crowdsource the Truth by going to subscribestar.com/crowdsource the truth. You can also still go to crowdsourcethetruth.com. And now that the main Crowdsource the Truth channel, the Jason Goodman channel, has once again been knocked out by a malicious social engineer, if I even mention his name, he'll put that into a new cause of action. Here's Larry calling on the phone. So, Larry, I have you on speakerphone and I'm still live.
How are you?
Would you like me to call you back in a minute? I'm about to end.
Yeah.
All right, I'll call you right back.
All right, thanks.
Yep. Anyway, the social engineer who struck the channel, if I mention his name or that he's George's brother, he'll probably try to turn that into a cause of action, but he is attempting to now sue my corporation in California, and we know why he's doing that. It's because I can't defend lawsuits against my corporation pro se, as I have been for the past 4 years. This guy just wants to drain my money and get me off of the internet in any way that he can. So for now, the best way is to join subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. That way, the live streams will still reach you. And if you want to help the effort to fight social engineers with lawsuits, you can become a sponsor of the Counter Lawfare Fund. Each level of sponsorship includes an annual gift subscription. The higher amounts, you get more years, hoping I stay alive and the internet remains functional. It's a great investment, great way to support crowdsource